When most surfers want a new board, they go to one of the surf shops in the area. A few surfers make their own boards. Such is the case with Del Cannon, who went down to Harold Walker's foam shop in Newport Beach to pick up a foam plank to shape his board from. It turned out Harold was closed, but since Del and he were good friends, he didn't think he'd mind if he used the service entrance. Inside the shop, Del didn't see any likely-looking blanks laying around to shape his board from, so he thought he'd check for a blank inside this big cement mold with a very heavy lid and a very heavy counterweight. Here's another mold. It was empty too. The only thing left for Del to do was mix up his own batch of foam. The only trouble was, he didn't know how to do it. But that didn't stop him. He'd seen Harold do it before, so he put some chemicals in a bucket and started mixing. He figured when it started turning white, it was about ready to pour in the mold. Line the mold with paper to keep the foam from sticking to it. The trick was to get the lid down, clamps around the edge, so when the foam starts to expand, it expands inside the mold under pressure to make a heavy density foam blank. A little trouble with the clamps, and the whole thing went off like a ruptured waffle. Looked like an explosion at the bubblegum factory. The bucket looked like a pregnant snow cone. It wasn't a total loss, though. Del had a good offer from Aunt Jemima. While Del redecorates Harold Walker's shop, let's go to the old Seal Beach power plant and a break called Ray Bay. Ray Bay, although not as well known as Huntington Beach, Rincon, or Malibu, was a fun wave and produced more than its share of good surfers, like Bill Fury riding here, and Robert August, probably 14 or 15 at the time. Ray Bay broke next to a little jetty in front of the power plant. The power plant used the water at Ray Bay to cool its generators, then dump the warm water back into the sea. The ocean temperature was always warmer here than anywhere else, and the warm water attracted lots of stingrays, hence the name Ray Bay. Not a good place to do a lot of wading. Robert August. About 4 years after this, Robert and I, along with Mike Hinson, went on a round-the-world surfing trip and made a film called The Endless Summer. It was almost as popular as Barefoot Adventure. The power plant is long gone now. A vacant lot stands in its place, probably a proposed site for a much-needed Southern California shopping mall. Some places haven't changed at all, like the Wedge in Newport Beach. Big old nasty Wedge, home of Excedrin headache #1. Mickey Munoz really getting driven in. On the left, Del Cannon. Jack Webb swallowed by this monster at the Wedge in Newport Beach, California. These waves break in very shallow water, so it's important you land properly. Otherwise, you can really get bent. Actually, there's no way to land properly. It's like diving off a freeway overpass and trying to land properly. You swim for the wave for about 5 seconds. You're airborne for 3 seconds. and you're driven into the bottom for 33 seconds. Why body surfers grist their limbs to ride the wedge is still a mystery. Of course, after a few waves, they're lucky if they can remember their names, let alone answer questions. Landing on your head like this can break your neck, give you a severe headache, or both. This isn't the answer either. Put your arms out front. All you do is break both your arms before you break your neck. Let's see how Dell's surfboard came out. It was a real loser. Wasn't even fit for household sponges. Total weight was 2.5 pounds, and it wasn't what you'd call extremely strong. Most people would give up, but not Dell. Back in the shop he went to give it another go. A different mix of chemicals in the paper bucket. The new mixture was worse than the first one. It started to go off in the bucket. Dell now knew how the Statue of Liberty must feel. Fortunately, Dell managed to get out of the shop because a few minutes after he left, Harold Walker arrived. Harold's the fellow who owns the place. He wasn't real thrilled with what he saw. Harold saw some strange footprints on the ground, and he had an idea who might have made these strange footprints. So he hopped in his car and headed off down Highway 101 in search of the culprit. Our friend Del Cannon turned out to be a true barefoot adventurer.